Well, I can tell you that across the board in our state, it is from the governor, Governor Murphy, on down through the legislature, through our county boards, through our state ag board. Everyone is in support of this, and so we want to make it as easy as possible for our growers to be able to get in the field and start producing a crop and get to processing. So what I'm saying is, we're here with open arms, saying, let's grow some hemp here.
That's New Jersey Secretary of Agriculture Doug Fisher. This is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. My name is Eric Herlock, and today I talked to Secretary Fisher and the Director of Plant Industry at the New Jersey Department of Agriculture, Joe Zoltowski. New Jersey has just opened up its hemp program, and today we'll learn about growing hemp in the Garden State. And then after the interview, we'll meet a young entrepreneur, a guy named Charles Streitwieser, who is making consumer products out of industrial hemp. All right, so we'll take a quick sponsor break, and then we'll come back with a couple of hemp industry news nuggets, and then we'll get into our interviews. Today's show is brought to you by King's Agri-Seeds, your source for premium forage, cover crop, and now industrial hemp seed. King's is excited to be your eastern supplier of Phylos Autoflower CBD hemp seed, along with grain hemp varieties from HGI that could also be used for fiber. Email hemp@kingsagriseeds.com or visit kingsagriseeds.com/hemp for more information. This episode is brought to you by the Cannabis College of America. Register now for their hemp production seminar. The Cannabis College of America, with partner N2 Innovations, is developing its own genetics and in-house breeding program. They're a licensed seed producer and distributor in Pennsylvania, offering 9 varieties of premium seed and clones for the 2020 season. Some of the highest CBD, lowest THC ratios available anywhere, including 2 autoflower varieties. Learn more and register for the seminar at cannabiscollegeofamerica.com. All right, if you heard last week's show, it was a live interview from the Pennsylvania Farm Show in Harrisburg. I talked to Fred Strathmeyer and Sarah Pickle from the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. It's a great discussion, and then there was a Q&A at the end with the audience. And there was one guy there who was talking about the 15-day harvest window and how that's going to create a bottleneck. Well, I got an email from a listener who had further points about that he thought we should address. So he says, the challenge is not just simply the bottleneck, but also the way testing is done. 0.3% was already a percentage that was taken from an immature cannabis plant, but now with the sampling requirements, this means that a cannabis plant can no longer get anywhere near close to flower maturity in its cycle. Secondly, with 15 days, and not 15 business days, mind you, the timeline does not fit a response. And then he lays it out like this. It's like basic math, right? Day 1, you take the sample. Then it's going to take 2 days to send that sample in. That sample is going to need to dry for decarboxylation for 7 days. And then the sample testing, which last year the earliest growers received results back was 9 business days. And then you send that to PDA. There's another day. And then PDA responds to a farmer for go or no-go on the harvest. And he points out that last year, the earliest that they got a response was 2 weeks over mail. So even assuming low backlog from sample taken to PDA getting results, it already has passed the 15 days. Yeah, he makes a good point. This USDA 15-day roll before harvest rule needs to be changed, period. Make sure you send your comments into the USDA. That comment period ends on January 29th. Also this week, the House Agriculture Committee Chairman Colin Peterson of Minnesota introduced legislation that would provide the Food and Drug Administration with the flexibility to allow hemp-derived CBD to be marketed in dietary supplements. The bill would also require a study and report from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which oversees the production of hemp, on the regulatory and market barriers for farmers engaged in hemp production. So there you go, there's something to keep an eye on. All right, let's turn our attention now to the Garden State. New Jersey and you, perfect together. Anyway, I am psyched to have Secretary Fisher and Joe Zoltowski here today to talk about hemp in New Jersey. New Jersey's Secretary of Agriculture, Doug Fisher, and the Director of the Division of Plant Industry, Joe Zoltowski. Welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How you guys doing?
Good.
Very good.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Absolutely. Could you each give me just sort of a brief introduction about yourself and the work that you do in New Jersey?
Well, this is Secretary Fisher. We have several divisions within the Department of Agriculture: food and nutrition, plant, animal health. We have ag and natural resources, SADC, which is the State Ag Development Board, which is under in but not of our department, and marketing. So we have several divisions, keeps us busy. We're responsible for all the feeding of the feeding programs in the schools, about 650,000 kids a day for the oversight of all those programs. And as I said, there's a number of responsibilities that we have.
Sure.
And so Division of Plant Industry, we focus on insect and disease controls of various exotic insects and diseases in our state and they come from other states and other countries. We do gypsy moth suppression activities. We inspect nursery stock to allow the movement of horticultural products from New Jersey to other countries and other states. We have a beneficial insect laboratory that rears and releases beneficial insects to help us control invasive weeds and some invasive insects. We have an apiary inspection program that helps us maintain bee health with all our beekeepers in the state. In summary, that's about it.
Right, you got a lot going on. And your division, Joe, is overseeing the hemp program, right?
Yes, that is correct. And now we have the hemp program to oversee also, yes.
Right. And so this is a recent development. It was just, the end of December that the USDA officially accepted your plan. You were one of the first 3 states or tribes to be accepted after the 2018 Farm Bill. Is that right?
Yeah, we're very excited about that. And we've been working on it for several years to be ready. We wanted to be one of the first approved plans. And fortunately, with working with USDA, we got that opportunity. So we're very excited that happened, working with the USDA. And we're as I said, we're the one, as you said, we're one of the first 3 in the country.
Right. Well, let's talk about the program. Can you tell me sort of are there acreage minimums or maximums? Can we talk about the permit or the permitting process?
Okay, so we don't really have them considered permits, they're licenses, even though a lot of people would use those words interchangeably. So it's a license. There are no restrictions on acreage sizes or growing locations. The indoor-outdoor locations are okay. Participants just have to fill out the applications, go through background checks, identify their fields or greenhouses where they're going to be growing their material. Mm-hmm. So we can conduct inspections and collect samples so we can do tests of the material to make sure it's compliant.
Right. Can we talk about the license fees? Is there a sort of a structure for that?
So there is a structure for the fees. It's $300 and $15 an acre. Obviously, if it's a greenhouse location, we're looking at square footage, but we would do the calculations for that. Mm-hmm. For handlers, so we have 3 kind of licenses. We have a grower license. I just gave you those numbers. Mm-hmm. We have a processor license, and so depending on what type of material you're going to be processing, if it's oils, it's $1,000. And if it's dry floral material or seeds, that's $450. So depending on what you're going to process, you have to do the math to add those 2 together to come up with a license number. Then we also have handlers, and handlers would be neither those that produce or process products. So we're looking at seed brokers or plant brokers, mm-hmm. Or laboratories to run tests, for example.
Right.
And so that would be a $450 annual fee.
Okay. So let's say I was a grower who was also going to process fiber and do like a CBD distillation. Would I need all 3 of those licenses?
Yes and no. And so it's no if you were just, as a grower, if you were processing your own material, your grower license would cover you. Mm-hmm. It's when you start to take other people's material, then you would have to apply to become a processor.
Okay, that makes sense. How many permits do you expect, how many licenses do you expect to issue this year?
Well, we have a lot of interest. So we've had hundreds of people asking and just, chomping at the bit to get started. Mm-hmm. But we can't answer it because it's so new. It wasn't legal just a few weeks ago, and now
right.
It is.
You're right.
But we have an extraordinary amount of interest.
Okay. Right. What lessons did you learn from other states in putting together your program?
Well, I think Joe, and he'll answer this. He went around the country. He talked to folks from Kentucky. He talked to North Dakota. He went out to the conference in Denver at the time a couple of years ago. I don't know that we actually learned from mistakes. I think what we did was we crafted and took what we thought were the best elements of all these plans. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we would duplicate some of their the good parts, and if we thought that something wouldn't fit the profile of what we were trying to do in this state, then we just didn't do that. So I don't know that I think what we did was learn more from what is working rather than what's not working.
Sure.
And then also, specific things would be like sampling procedures or sampling requirements for testing. Some states would do multiple sampling requirements. Other states would just do single right before harvest. Those kind of things. The need of hiring a dedicated staff. It's not a huge amount of staff that we have.
Right.
But it is a very time-consuming process that it's pretty much 24/7 work for the program.
In Pennsylvania, here they just released the 2020 program, and this year they put out a list of restricted varieties. Things that maybe grew too hot in the field, and so the state doesn't want to deal with them this year. Does New Jersey have a similar list?
So we've used. Yes and no. Right now, we're still, because it's new, we're going to be developing and refining the list. But we've taken the list that Kentucky has put out last year, mm-hmm. And they pretty much poll all the states that had industrial hemp pilot programs or other hemp programs to see from those states' experiences what were good varieties and what were not. So we're just referring people to those lists, and obviously. Okay. The growers, we're not restricting or prohibiting anything, but the growers it would be at their risk, right. To take a prohibited variety.
We took a metered approach because this is the problem that we didn't want to end up with, where, as there were in some of the pilots, where people just went out and grew it, and then found out that that it was hot.
Right.
So we took a very cautious and incremental steps to get to this point, and so we don't really have that problem right now, and we don't expect to, because we're explaining to farmers right away, we want to help you get within those limits. We're working with our land-grant university, Rutgers. They have some top-notch people there that are going to work hand-in-hand with us so that they'll pick the varieties that we think are going to work best for our farmers in this state.
So what other challenges would New Jersey hemp farmers face?
Well, I think the biggest challenge everyone has is that we know that they're going to be able to grow it. It's a very hardy crop. It's almost, I guess it's a weed mm-hmm. In some ways, in some respects. We're going to be able to grow it. The problems they're going to have is making sure that they don't go over that tolerance. That's right. One. And then two, we have to make sure that we can help them find those markets for processing. So we're really want everyone to know that we're with open arms trying to find processing opportunities for our farmers growing in this state, and frankly in other states as well, because we're in the middle of a very robust market for product, and we have a multi-billion-dollar audience. So we're courting processors, and we're also encouraging growers to make sure that they line up with the market, because just growing it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get it's going to be a profitable cash crop for them.
Right. So in the USDA interim rules, there's the language about the DEA licensed testing labs. How do you see that working in New Jersey, and who pays for that? And is that a burden on your department?
So right now we currently have in the Division of Plant Industry, our plant lab is a DEA certified laboratory. So we're fortunate for that. It's an ISO certified DEA laboratory. So so right now it's kind of, there's one that we're aware of, not to say that there's not other DEA certified laboratories in this state, but we're not aware of any. So for those laboratories that want to get involved, that certainly would be a burden. There's a lot of inspections and paperwork for them to go through to get that certification. So we're there, our lab is there to do the testing, so we're kind of fortunate in that respect that wouldn't be a roadblock to any participants that we have in our program this year. Certainly would be helpful to have more, perhaps our land-grant college could become certified as that would be nice to have other laboratories so as not to bottleneck sample flow.
Right. Is hemp still listed as a controlled substance at the state level in New Jersey?
So no, it's not.
No.
It was with the laws with the Hemp Farming Act law, it's legal to grow under licensure by the department.
Okay. In your opinion, what sets the New Jersey program apart from other state and tribal programs?
First of all, we're obviously in an early period of having programs that are permanent programs across the entire state. So not sure yet. I just know that we want to have a gold standard in our state, and we think because we're on a ground floor in terms of starting out with no really any pitfalls or any mistakes that we've made to date, that we're going to try to build one of the most successful programs in the country that has the integrity of its product and the people that are growing it. Of course, we have fabulous growers in the state. That's one thing that makes us unique, is that in our state, our farmers have been adapting to markets for years. One time we were one of the largest potato growers in the country. We still have a robust number of farmers that grow potatoes, but but that has changed. Dairy was another. That was one of the largest sectors in our state, but now it's nursery and greenhouse is our number one ranking in the country. Number one ranking in the state, and highly ranked within the country and other sectors as well. That have evolved, and we think this is one of those evolving sectors. So the farmers really are some of the most adaptable and highly skilled at making these changes in the country and in the world.
Right. How can farmers avoid getting the short end of the stick in New Jersey?
What does that mean?
It seems like some farmers maybe get taken advantage of. And so I guess the short end of the stick metaphor is that. Like how can farmers protect themselves? How can they avoid getting taken advantage of by, other processors or, just other market forces?
I'm not really sure if we have answers. I do, as we talk to farmers or people who want to participate as growers or as processors, I always want them to think this all through, from the beginning to the end, your seed source, your plant source, and what you're going to do with the product and who's going to process it. Because our growers, like the Secretary was saying earlier, are very good at growing top quality material, but we don't want them to be left just growing material and not having anything, not having any return.
Right.
So we want them to think about the whole process, and as long as they do that, I don't think that they would be on the short end of the stick. But it is an expensive proposition, from what I understand. And so we just want them to think it through, to make the right decisions. But that's their call, not ours per se.
Right.
We're here to make sure that the door is open for them to get the best possible, opportunity for them, they and their farm. So yeah, we want people to be, guarded and when you say get taken advantage of, I mean, they just have to make sure that they've contracted in a way that maximizes, and they've projected out their numbers to make sure that they think that, it's going to be profitable for them.
Okay. What else should future hemp farmers of New Jersey know about the hemp program in the Garden State?
Well, I can tell you that across the board in our state, it is from the governor, Governor Murphy, on down through the legislature, through our county boards, through our state ag board. Everyone is in support of this, and so we want to make it as easy as possible for our growers to be able to get in the field and start producing a crop and get to processing. So what I'm saying is, we're here with open arms, saying, let's grow some hemp here.
Joe, anything to add on that?
I agree with the secretary on what he said. At least at this stage. I mean, this is new. It's a new program, and we'll see what the future holds, market-wise and success-wise and variety-wise, whatever it takes.
Do you think the marijuana stigma around hemp even matters anymore? Is that an issue?
Well, there's a big push in New Jersey by the legislature and the governor to make it legal to grow marijuana in the state. But we're right now focusing on our hemp program. Mm-hmm. I believe that it ultimately will be a ballot question next year for New Jerseyans to decide as a ballot question whether marijuana will be grown legally in the state, other than the medicinal marijuana program, which we already have.
And that could change the hemp program, do you think?
Not really. Not really. I mean, we're not sure where that legislation is, and we haven't seen a final bill per se. So hard to say who's going to be administering that program. I mean, the hemp program is administered by the Department of Ag. Will it affect that? Not really. Mm-hmm. It's just with the hemp program, they can't grow marijuana at the same time in the same place as hemp. So different fields, if it's indoor locations, different greenhouses separated by doors, so you don't get that cross-pollination effect. Right. That would affect the crops. I think the biggest stigma on my end is law enforcement, getting them more educated about the differences, and it's not an easy thing because you can't physically tell, looking from one to another, what's hemp and what's marijuana. So they have a hurdle to jump through, to say the least, and that's the biggest stigma involved in both of these plants.
Since you do have a medical marijuana program there in the state, do you have any sort of like growing restrictions around there? I know here in Pennsylvania, you cannot grow industrial hemp within a 3-mile radius of a medical marijuana grow, and that's a pollination issue because apparently this pollen can travel far and wide. Is that a concern in New Jersey?
It is not at this time. I've been in discussion with the people administering that program, and all their facilities pretty much are indoor grows, though. They're all highly secure, and because of odor issues with the plants, mm-hmm. Scrubbing systems are installed in their facilities, and so at this time it's not a concern. Who knows what the future brings.
I think that does it for me. Thank you very much for your time today, Secretary Fisher and Director Zoltowski. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to note that that hemp in New Jersey, wild hemp, has been here for centuries.
Yeah.
As early as the 1700s, it was grown commercially with large stands between Trenton and Newark. I thought that was an interesting fact.
Yeah, it's really neat how old this crop is and how sort of wrapped around human history it is. I love the stories here in Pennsylvania about, George Washington going out to Lancaster County to look at the hemp fields out there because he would get the finest linens from Lancaster County.
Right.
And so it's neat. Yeah, it's a great part of the country that we all live in, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. So lots of history. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time today, and I wish you great success in agriculture in New Jersey.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
If you are interested in growing hemp in New Jersey, you can learn more about the program and also apply for a license at the New Jersey Department of Agriculture website. That's at nj.gov/agriculture, or you could call the Department of Plant Industry directly at 609-406-6939. Okay, next up, we're going to check in with a young entrepreneur by the name of Charles Streitwieser. He's got a company called Streitwieser Designs, and he is making something called the Charlie Bag out of industrial hemp. He's got plans on working with the local hemp industry, and I just wanted to shine a light on what he's doing. Charles Streitwieser, welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I wonder if you could introduce yourself for us, please.
Sure. So my name is Charles Streitwieser. I've been involved in the industrial hemp movement for a couple of years now. I first got interested in it when I went to the Pennsylvania Farm Show up in Harrisburg, and I went there with sort of a mission to meet the Pennsylvania Hemp Industry Council, talk to them more about what they do. At the time, I was really interested in starting a business, but I didn't know what business to start. And I hear, from a lot of people that the first business you start is bound to fail. So what I wanted to do was find an environment that was really ripe with opportunity. And I happened upon the industrial hemp movement. I had known that the medical cannabis movement was happening. I didn't really feel like that was a space that I wanted to get into, but the industrial hemp fiber side was something that I was really interested in.
Right.
So I went to the farm show and I was walking around, and I was sort of looking at, what everyone was wearing, what that kind of stuff, and a lot of Carhartt, Duluth trading, sort of workwear, that kind of stuff. I thought, well, that's interesting. Maybe, it'd be possible to make a garment out of hemp and cater towards this sort of type of clientele. And I spent a lot of time developing that idea. And I ended up actually not going through with it. I, at the time, went back to school. I moved to Maine and started studying boat building. And I did that for about a year until I realized that was kind of a really bad fit. So school has always been difficult for me. And that is very intensive in marine engineering, naval architecture, that kind of stuff. So the numbers didn't really work out, but I'm sort of a more artistic, creative person. So what I did was I rolled that experience into the next thing. I decided to revisit the idea of starting a business. I still like the idea of hemp and industrial hemp. Being from Pennsylvania, I felt that it was something close to my heart. And I approached it with the perspective and the mindset that, as someone who's starting from the very bottom, working the way up, what's something that I can teach myself to make? What's something that I can do myself? So what I did was I went out and bought the cheapest sewing machine I could, and I taught myself by taking apart different bags and taught myself how to make a bag. And then I ordered material online and I started making bags. After a while, I just started designing a label, and I started building a brand around it. And today I own and operate Streitwieser Designs, which owns and which produces the Charlie Bag. We produce 100% organic hemp tote bag, which is perfect for weekends, books, really any sort of purpose you might need. It's designed to be very simple and functional. It's designed to fit in with everybody's, color palette, personal style. And really, we want to attract as broad a clientele base as possible. And we have plans to expand.
How many bags are you producing? Like a year, or what's sort of the output?
So we've been in operation since October of 2019.
Okay, so you're brand new.
Relatively speaking, recently.
Okay.
That being said, we've made and sold 30 bags. We have about 20 on back order right now. And we found a manufacturer to be involved who's also in Chester County, and that's part of our grown and sewn in Chester County goal. We want to produce the first Pennsylvania 100% organic hemp Pennsylvania textile, which then we can turn into products.
Great.
And that's sort of been our overarching goal. And there are other products we'd like to make as well, beyond just textile and the paper side. But for right now, we're focusing on bags. So the next, we have 100 bags coming. And we're looking into all sorts of opportunities with co-branding. We're a direct-to-consumer business model right now. We do a lot of social media marketing.
Okay.
And that's where we found a lot of sales from. And I enjoy that because I get to interact with people,
cool.
show a lot of people different ways to wear it, and sort of get people excited about it.
All right. Where are you sourcing your hemp now?
So unfortunately, we're sourcing our hemp right now. Not unfortunately. Fortunately, we found a supplier. We're getting from hemptraders.com, located in Paramount, California. and we get shipped over here, and then we turn it into our product. But our goal is to create a 100% Pennsylvania textile, grow it and sew it in Pennsylvania,
Okay.
To create a product.
So the hemp material that you're getting, is it domestic or is it imported?
Well, actually, I asked and they wouldn't tell me. I'm assuming it's imported.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that too.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be creating the fabric yourself. Like if you were to work with a local farmer who was growing fiber hemp for you, at the point where you're making the bags, you wouldn't get involved in weaving the hemp and making the material yourself.
We'd love
right?
to. We'd absolutely love to. Yeah, no, that's the goal. We want to be as hands-on as possible. We would love to be there developing the texture, thickness, weight, feel of it. We'd like to be involved in all of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you looked into like different varieties of hemp that you would want to be grown for this?
So I understand that different strains have different material properties, especially, CBD hemp is different than fiber hemp, and vice versa.
Sure.
So we haven't yet developed the perfect strain, or at least the strain that we want. That will come in time through research and development. But right now we're really focused on getting bringing it into reality. We'd like to put something together and be able to hold it, pass it around to people, and show them that it is possible. And that we are at the stage where we're really starting to get things going.
Okay.
Beyond just that research phase, it's beyond just the sort of talking about it. Gee, wouldn't that be nice? We'd like to bring something into reality to cement it, to our mission.
So how do you see yourself getting the local hemp processed locally?
So it's going to take a lot of partnership. I think that the processing, so where we're at right now, our goal is to grow and sew. Now, there are places around the country that do process hemp into textile materials, and the one I'm thinking of right now is Sunstripe, and they're in Kentucky. And so that being said, for the time being, it's I think what it is, it's a lot of little steps along the way.
Right.
Having to rely on other people in different states to begin with is okay, but we still have the goal of manufacturing, producing in Pennsylvania. So until we can reach that point, we do plan on partnering and working with other people around the country, with the goal of eventually moving away from that to support the local economy.
So where can people find Streitwieser Designs and the Charlie Bag?
So we're on social media. If you look up Streitwieser_Designs on Instagram, that's our biggest platform. We do have a website that's charlie-bag at myshopify.com. We sell our products through that way. If you're interested, you can send us an email at streitwieserc@gmail.com, and you can contact us through our website as well. Social media, we do have a Facebook page. I'm always open to new projects. I would love to work with as many people as possible. So if there's no project too big or too small.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll put the links up to your stuff up on the show page for this episode.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Cool. Is there anything else that you think our audience should know about either your products or your intentions on working with the hemp industry? Okay.
So this might be off the record or it can be on the record. But, the bags are just beginning. We have a really big vision, and I'd mentioned before that I want to move into paper, as well as the textile itself. And the reason why I want to do that, I grew up as an outdoorsman. I really enjoyed the outdoors. I enjoyed hunting and fishing and these sorts of things. And one of the solutions that I'd like to use hemp to solve, or one of the problems that I'd like to use hemp as a solution to solve, is the issue of plastic pollution in waterways, in specific talking about shotgun shells. So Streitwieser Designs would like to develop a 100% organic hemp fiber shotgun shell, biodegradable, and we think that could be a big product. You can totally use that, but it's something that we're working on at the moment. There's no documentation of it, but it's one of those ideas that is. It's one of those spots in the distance that we're pulling ourselves toward.
That is brilliant. That is such a great idea.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, I spent, my entire childhood outside in woods and cornfields. And yeah, I remember just seeing the plastic shells all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're probably all still there.
It's the sales pitch is, you wouldn't go for a hike in the woods and drink a plastic bottle of water and throw it on the ground. And neither would you with your shotgun shells. Of course, people pick them up. And I say that's not the problem. Even if you pick them up, they end up in the landfill anyway. So what if we had a different solution, a different option that just doesn't exist right now? And paper shells do exist, but they're made of traditional wood pulp paper. And cutting down trees doesn't have to be an option when we have hemp.
Right.
It's a material that we can refine into, relatively speaking, a raw paper. But at the same time, it achieves exactly the same thing. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Cool. Okay, getting back to the Charlie bag. Do you have a retail outlet for these bags?
So we're working on that. Not as of currently. There are places, small boutiques down in Chestertown, Maryland. Hopefully one in Westchester. But this is something that we're slowly, plugging away at. Again, I do want to say that we do offer co-branding opportunities. And the reason why people might want to choose us to work with is because we do deliver a high quality product for a reasonable price. And one of our design aspects, if I can describe to you the product in my own words, the bag itself is made of 100% organic and olive green hemp. Now, it's a very simple design, and our logo is a title block in the bottom right-hand corner. The title block tells you everything you need to know about what the bag is made of, and it was inspired by the title blocks of engineering and architectural drawings. In those drawings, you see the beautiful objects, the house, the car, the boat, that sort of thing. And the title block tells you everything you know about it. In our case, the title block tells you everything you know about the product itself. Now, the reason why that's important to maybe your listeners who are interested in co-branding is to put your label on the bag is not only to associate yourself with the Pennsylvania hemp industry movement, but also it displays your brand in a way that identifies it as more valuable, or at least that's to say more desirable. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. So if anyone's out there who's interested, I would love to work together. I have a deal for anyone who contacts me because they heard through this interview. We'll do the branding for free. All you have to pay for is the bag. So that's our pitch.
All right, there you go. Charles Streitwieser from Streitwieser Designs, makers of the Charlie bag. Okay, that does it for me. Thank you for listening. My name is Eric Herlock. I am the digital editor at Lancaster Farming Newspaper, the greatest agricultural newspaper in the world. You can always get in touch with me about anything, really. Show ideas, questions, sponsorship opportunities. Email us at podcast@lancasterfarming.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at LFPodcastHemp. And yeah, all right, that's it. Until next time, I'll see you in the newspaper.
Industrial hemp. Industrial hemp. Industrial hemp.
This episode of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast is copyright 2020 by Lancaster Farming, part of the Steinman Communication family. Today's show was written and recorded, edited, and produced by Eric Herlock. Any music you heard is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow.
Industrial hemp.